So today's talk, we're going to get started now, is patience, the crypto superpower. And this is something that, you probably could get everything you need to get just from the title. But I think patience is something that we should explore from a few different angles. And, not just the cryptosphere angle, but I, as someone who is a relatively impatient person, has found if I can force myself to be patient relative to market dynamics and fundamentals and all the fun stuff we like, it's really, really helpful in this space. And the essential premise is that this is a fundamentally impatient market right now. So if you can be patient, you have an advantage because the vast majority of trades that are made, if you just hold on to them right now, you will at least break even. The reason for this is not that cryptocurrency is, bulletproof or invulnerable and it's always going to go up. That's probably the opposite of the case if we track this out 2-3 years. A lot of these things will not be around. But if you are patient enough now, it's so early on that it's likely you will at least turn a profit, even if modest. You most likely will not lose money. I mean, unless you're investing in things that we know are centralized scams like Bitcoin Cash, Ripple, you're probably not going to lose your money. So that's an important thing to realize because that way, if you are in something and you start losing a little bit of money and you're like, fuck this, Noah lied to me or the server lied to me. I shouldn't have bought this stupid thing. And then you sell, you've lost money there. And then if it goes back up, you're going to feel even worse. You're going to be like, oh man, I could have just waited and done nothing. So the other thing I want to talk about related to patience is being too patient, which I wouldn't actually call patience. It's something else. It's being attached to something. And this is something that I am 100% guilty of with Venn, which is indicated by me purchasing Venn at the top all the way up. And now I've been purchasing it all the way down because I believe in it to kind of mitigate the risks there. But the correct move would be to have sold Venn or a portion of it at the top, wait for it to drop and buy more. So that I want to point out that patience isn't just one of these things we talk about where you just hold and you wait. If you notice that your relationship with patience is that it's developing into attachment, that ceases to be productive as well. So we get a really cool opportunity in this world, in the cryptosphere, to kind of look at these skills that we know. Patience is a virtue, but at least for me in my life, it's very difficult for me in emotional situations to apply that. But in the cryptosphere, just force yourself to hold stuff for a little bit. If you notice that when you're going underwater, you're taking some losses, that you just want to dump it, and then you dump it, and then you get something else, and then that doesn't do well, and you see the thing you originally dumped go off. Like, you only want to learn that lesson so many times, right? And like I said, remember, we're so early on right now. It's not going to be like this forever. But the truth is, it's really hard to take massive losses unless you're just riding trains and getting off every stop at a Lossville. So that's important. Also, Matt, I want to address your question, and I'm standing up, so excuse me for looking down, taking a second. I'll drop a question in now relating to what I mentioned above. Is there value in making day trades or short-term trades over a day or week trying to catch waves? Or will all the geniuses and bots lay waste to me and my coins? Okay, great question. I'll relate this again to fantasy football, specifically daily leagues. So I, in the early days of FanDuel and DraftKings, was fucking killing it. I'm an avid football fan. I've been paying attention for essentially all of my life, and I knew how to be good at it. I've been playing fantasy football since like the late 90s. So it was just a free-for-all. I was just destroying people in all of these leagues, and then came the Wall Street people and their algorithms and their bots and their horrible auto-generate lineups, and it was really hard for me to eke out, a profitable season. So the question is this happening now in cryptocurrency, especially on the exchanges? Yeah, totally, it's happening. There are bots, there are whales, there's manipulation, there's pump and dumps, there's all of this shit that can fuck you up. That said, it is not like fantasy football in terms of this being 100% gamed. It is not like the stock market where unless you have insider trading or just incredibly TA skills, you're going to get like a 19% return, Warren Buffettsville, for the year. So I also realized I've been saying "vil" after a lot of words today. I don't know why. But my point is that this system is not totally botted up. It's not totally gamed yet. It's not at the point where you have to say, okay, well, I just can't even make a profit. Now, your question relating to should you day trade or week trade, I think for beginners and intermediate, week trading is probably the right move. And you don't even have to actively pay attention. You can buy something that you think is a good entry point and then immediately set a sell order for either 50% or 100% of what you bought at a price that you think it'll hit in the next week. That's it. That will work now. And if you're cool with being patient enough to have that work and you're buying into coins that you have some knowledge of what you're buying in, and I'll point out again that anything you buy, you should know what you're buying. It doesn't prevent you from making bad decisions. It doesn't mitigate all loss up, but at least you know what the fuck you have, right? I jumped into a signal last night for Lend. I know what Lend is. It's ETH Lend. I bought it around like $14.90. I wanted it to go to like 17 because I really wasn't paying attention to technical analysis and I got a signal for it. I ended up selling it at like $14.60, something like there, to jump into ICX. So my point is, it's not like it prevents you from making bad decisions, but at least you know what it is. At least you're familiar with what you're getting. And then furthermore, if you're really underwater, you can know whether you should hold that. Is this really going in the wrong direction and staying there like a shit coin? Or is it something that's actually going to continue to go up? So for day trading, I don't recommend day trading for most people, honestly. Actively managing your money on that way requires you to at least pick up skills related to technical analysis. Like, for instance, I'm not a great day trader, period. In December, anyone could have been a great day trader. You follow the thing that's kind of low, it's in the red, it's going to be in green soon. It's really easy. But in the real market, when people are a little more cautious with their money and it's getting a little more, difficult, I guess, to just point and choose and make money, I don't really recommend day trading for most people. I make maybe a few 3 to 5 trades a day. I would say about 70% of those make money. And I would say most of the time I'm breaking even or making a modest profit. The days where from day trading I'm doing really well, those are infrequent. They're great. Don't get me wrong. They can totally happen. And I also am really cautious and risk averse. So I will cut losses. And I've jumped out of things many times to where if I just would have stayed, this relates to patience, I would have made money. However, I'm okay with that. Your patience isn't something you have to adhere to like someone's watching over you. Must be patient. The point is that you notice when you're not being patient, you notice what happened. You notice when you're being overly patient, you note what happened. You notice when you kind of find the happy equilibrium where if things are going up or down, you're okay with it. That's the place you want to get to, because then it doesn't matter, right? If you're confident the thing is going to go up, that's going down, you're not really freaked out. If anything, you're deciding, and I mentioned this in the loss talk, do I want to get more? If I liked it at this price, if it's 30% cheaper, shouldn't I like it 30% more? So that's the important thing to kind of mention with all this. And then the reason it's a superpower, like I said, it won't be maybe in a year. It won't be maybe in 6 months, because then you'll really have to nail what you're buying. But right now, you could buy into coins that won't exist in 2 years and you'll probably make money this year. So that's an important thing to remember. And if you continuously find yourself taking losses, like you keep jumping off ships or you get into something and it stays there, you need to reevaluate your strategy. It doesn't mean you're doing something wrong necessarily. It's just you have to look at what you're doing to see if it makes sense given market dynamics and your strategy. This is something I talk about with every client, is not everyone has the same investment strategies. There are people I know who 100% their portfolio is small cap, big potential gainers. I couldn't sleep well with my money in there, period. It would make me queasy. Maybe in a month like December, I'd allocate 20%, 30% to those types of coins, speculative ads, but I don't know what they're going to do. It's too sensitive to dynamics that I don't control, or at least think I can not control, but can get a hold of and understand. So, there's different times for different things, but understand what your strategy is. And if you adhere to that, your patience level should reveal itself too. Okay. Any other questions for this talk? Bring them up in voice chat text now. And this is also, they don't have to be specifically related to patience. It could be, truthfully for anything that you want to ask now. Consider it a good 5-10 minutes of consulting if you want to take it. If not, I'm going to go. I see someone typing. And I'm sure you guys can realize as I wait for this to come in, a lot of this isn't technical, it's understanding where you fit in relative to your goals and the market. And that's what we call about, the Bill Williams thing, being in tune with the market. It's less about the hard numbers and percentage gains. Of course, that's important. I'm not saying it's not important, but it's really like, how do you do this where you can, do well, reach your goals, but also not go insane? Does anyone in here who's listening to this want, $500 million, but to be miserable? No one wants that. So try to figure out what your goals are, and that'll help. Is there anything that would make this market to zero? Yeah, I mean, like legal or government control, it's easy to be optimistic, but just curious to get your thoughts on the ultimate threat. Yeah, I mean, listen, nothing is a given. Here's the truth. Confront it if you want. You could get a brain hemorrhage in the next 5 minutes and die, period. We all could. That's just the reality. I don't think the chances of this market tanking are quite as low as all of us getting a brain hemorrhage, but it will require a tremendous... Here's the way... You have to look at it from a bunch of different angles. One is, let's say a group of people did want to shut all of this shit down. What would need to happen? You'd need an international consensus to essentially clamp down either from an ISP level, an internet service provider level, an electric level, a power level, or a regulatory level. That's a lot of moving parts. Not everyone is on the same page. China competes with the United States, competes with Japan, competes with all of these different outlets. So it really, the key aspect of why it's hard to shut this down is it's decentralized. It's not in any one place. That's why when China really did shut down, mining and made it much more difficult to run cryptocurrency operations there, all that happened was a big drop in the price. Then everyone moved to Japan and other places. And then China was like, oh, shit, maybe we should let people do this. So that's number one to think about. Like, a lot would have to happen and be very coordinated to shut it down. Now, let's talk about regionally, like the United States, for instance. Let's say the United States is like, fuck this, we're not doing it. Well, something to consider is, do you think there are people who lobby the government, who pay the government, to do things on their behalf, who have their money in cryptocurrency at this point? We're talking about a market that is giving exponential gains. So if you got $10,000, great. You can maybe make $1 million. If you have $1 million, if you have $2 million, you have $20 million, what are you doing? Are you just sitting on the sidelines, or are you taking some of the shit that means nothing to you because you have so much of it and putting it in here? My bet is that there are plenty of people surrounding politics, all of the cultural institutions that kind of make the world go around, who have their money in this already. I don't know this. This is pure speculation. My point is that if that is the case, and there are anyone who's lobbying the government, who's making money from this, they're not going to want to shut it down either. Now, could the price crash and plummet? Totally. I mean, I think there are a very small number, even to this day, of people who own the vast majority of Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin takes a tumble, the rest of the market typically goes with it. However, I think this year we may see enough cryptocurrencies untether themselves, that's not a pun, from Bitcoin. So what am I talking about when I say that? Well, we all know about Ethereum. Lots of things run platforms off the Ethereum network. But we also have, ERC20 tokens, VET being a perfect example, who are launching their own mainnets. ICX launching their own mainnets. You exchange the ERC20 tokens for their tokens on their blockchain. The more that this happens, the less dependent the market is on Bitcoin. And I think that's actually a good thing for Bitcoin. I'm very bullish on Bitcoin by the end of the year. I know a lot of people aren't. A lot of people are waiting for the flippening, either in market cap, most likely not price, with Ethereum. And I don't necessarily buy that yet. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I still think Bitcoin is going to be okay. Lightning Network should be a huge boost to it. And I think you're seeing things like Robinhood, even though they're opening up a lot of different cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin is right there. And if Bitcoin does what it did in December and running up to December, where it goes up to almost $20,000, that really generates a tremendous amount of interest in it. So yeah, the thing is I try to temper. I obviously am very optimistic about blockchain technology and the cryptocurrency market, but I hope it doesn't come off that I'm just giddy and delusional and avoiding risks and potential pitfalls. I look at them, and before I decide to put large sums of money on anything or clients direct them to, I want to make sure that I'm covering this from multiple angles, not just a rose tinted glasses way of like, yeah, cryptocurrency is the future, man. Get with the program. It's like, well, I may believe that, but I should also try to see what can really fuck this shit up. That's why, let me point this out. That's why when this month all the South Korea FUD was going on, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, I wasn't panicking at all. And I was, I'm sure, pissing plenty of people off that I just wasn't buying into the fear right away. And the reason I was is I just looked at the dynamics. The same analogy I give for Korea is essentially the same global analogy I give. And I don't know if it's definitely going to hold up, but is Colorado going to ban weed? Let's say there's a lot of people who want to make weed illegal in Colorado. At this point, are they going to ban it? It's bringing in taxes for their schools, for their public, their public institutions. It's really dropping down like deaths from opioids and all these other things. No one in Colorado is going to stop that. The federal government can do what they want, but they're not really going to do that. The other point is, at least in this country, they're so fucking far behind. Like, they're still, net neutrality is probably their biggest coup in a really long time, trying to get that off the books. Blockchain, please. The pace Congress moves in this country, Trump, I'm sure there are people who know about this stuff. I don't want to, belittle them to the point where I think they're just totally incompetent, although close. But truthfully, they're not on this shit yet. They might be. They're banning ICOs. That's a big thing. And this leads into your question, Clydesdale. Can you briefly discuss playing into ICOs? What are ICOs? They're initial coin offerings. Yeah, I mean, an ICO is essentially a deferred patience play. It's something that is initial coin offering. You put in an amount of Bitcoin, Ether, Neo, Van, whatever it's going to be, and you get either a bonus or early access to these coins before they're listed on exchanges. This is a way for the project to raise money right off the bat. If you came in here, I'm going to mute you because I can hear you. I'm sorry. There we go. So yeah, it's a way for these companies to make money, these projects to make money, and provide early access. Now, what's happening in the ICO space is it's unregulated. This shit is really kind of crazy. So the US is clamping down. A lot of other places are clamping down. That said, you can still get ICOs for a lot of quality projects. But these are things that you should really do your research on. You can buy into ICOs that are literally scams that you will never get your money back. So just make sure you look at those. We get a fair amount of ICO signals in this server from Quasar. So if you're interested in projects and want to kind of a leg up and, haven't been researching themselves and don't know where to look, that's a good way. Higher risk, higher reward, you're asking. I mean, no. I mean, it's like any other currency. It's maybe a higher risk and maybe a higher reward. It depends what you're doing. If you found a relatively cheap ICO that's a hell of a project, like, let me put it this way, WanChain. If you were in WanChain, you're probably going to make a fuckload of money, like if you put in a bunch. So it's not like that's how it works. Like, you're going to get more. Yeah, if you're earlier and it's cheaper and it does well, you're going to get more. But that doesn't imply more risk. Risk is you don't have anything up and running. It's not on exchanges. You don't really know the team. But there are ICOs that come from established teams. So again, like, all of this, as much as we want kind of like a blueprint, cookie cutter strategy, like this is how you should do it. I don't think that they do exist. If you really want a here's the truth. If you want a cookie cutter strategy, go and buy 3 or 4 of the things we recommend in this server and walk away for a year. Seriously, that's it. That's a cookie cutter strategy. I can't guarantee you're going to have higher returns than people in here who are active, but you're going to be fine. Like, your money will do well. I have clients who essentially that's what they're doing. So that's the cookie cutter strategy. ICOs, all of that, like, it's like anything else. Do your own research, vet them in the community. Yeah. Okay. 2 more things. I had to think that the government may not be able to grasp on this, but the banks and the financial institutions, Goldman Sachs, are on it because they're not making money off this financing stuff, and they have huge. Yeah. I mean, exactly. People who are trying to make money are putting in this, regardless of whether you're a personal person or a financial institution. All right. Last question here. I know how to use signals, but how would you define a signal? A signal is just literally either reporting a move. So I moved into Ven here, which is you can decide if you want to move into then there, or just literally telling you what you should do. Buy this at this, sell this here. Those are signals. There are plenty of indicators which are different than signals that may lead you to a decision to buy something. That's usually for technical analysis, or maybe there's an event coming up. But a signal, from the server standpoint, is literally just this is when you buy, this is when you sell, this is how long you buy, these are the percentage gains you can expect. So that's why when we say the server is generating 800% signal, if you followed every single signal, right now maybe you're down on a little bit of then if you've been buying up around 65 and lower, or even higher and lower, up to around like 56, 57, but like wait till next month. Like you're going to be up big. So that's why we tout the signals in here, because go check some other places out. There's a lot of signals. There's a lot of people telling you what you should and should not buy, but we try to back it up with actually, obviously real research and results, and then also, an explanation of why this is what you're doing. And we encourage people to ask questions. The main thing is we don't want people buying stuff or investing in stuff that they don't know what it is. That's blind signal following is not a good decision. I can tell you that from personal experience. It's just almost never works out. Okay, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you for everyone who's joining. I'm going to have to edit this one. It'll probably be out tomorrow. I will see you in here.